Hello and welcome to Swarajya Standard. On this episode, we are reviewing the book Ever Upwards, ISRO in Images. Now, if space is a spectacle, then ISRO or Indian Space Research Organization has been putting on quite a show for many years now. I mean, it's hard to think that this is 2019 and it's been at least about 5 years since Mangalyaan and 11 years since the first Chandrayaan took off. That's how much accomplishment ISRO has been accumulating over the years. And the progress and its achievements are so fast-paced that sometimes it's hard to think back to the time when we didn't have as much progress, when things were slow going, when there were people, a lot of pioneering people and a lot of ordinary men and women who were coming together and trying to build an institution that today is probably one of the few non-divisive institutions in the country. So that's what this book is all about. It's authored by 3 scientists or former scientists from the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. So they know what they're talking about. And they've also been contributing a lot to science communication in the country. So you have P.V. Manoranjan Rao, you have B.N. Suresh and V.P. Balagangadhar. So what do you get in this book? It starts from the Sarabhai years, when Vikram Sarabhai was building the institution. You get pictures like the picture of the church that stood back in the day where today ISRO stands in Thumba. You get pictures of the early development of your satellite launch vehicles, the SLV-3, the ASLV, Augmented Satellite Launch Vehicle, and then the PSLV and of course the GSLV, which helped us put Chandrayaan-2 on the moon. And there are lots of other interesting phases, especially highlighting the contribution of the early men who were involved, especially Vikram Sarabhai and Satish Dhawan. And there are quite a few interesting pictures in here which are quite rare. Actually, some of them never before been seen by the public. For instance, there's this one rare picture where Homi Bhabha and Vikram Sarabhai happen to be in the same frame. And now that's a very rare thing. You also get to see the assembly of satellite launch vehicles. So we get an inside look into some of the control centers where men and women are operating systems far from the spectacle that is ISRO, that is rocket launches and space missions. We also get a view of how ISRO's role has evolved in terms of its technology. So initially you get a lot of remote sensing or aerial views of farms and fields and trying to find out plantation patterns and stuff like that. And eventually you start seeing an evolution towards slightly more ambitious missions like of course the Mangalyaan and the Chandrayaan-1 and now Chandrayaan-2. This book was actually launched before the launch of Chandrayaan-2, which is why you get to see some of the initial features of the mission but not after what happened to that. So other than that, we have such famous pictures as before, like the rocket nose cone being carried on a bicycle, or India's first satellite Aryabhatta being carried on a bullock cart. I mean, these are really representative of the fact that ISRO had such a unique journey onto the international space scene. I mean, we are talking about our first launch was Nike Apache, right, which was NASA's satellite, and then we had a Russian satellite, and then we had the Ariane, the Apple, which I was talking to you about, being carried on a bicycle. I've written down some other things. There's also extraordinary aerial views of things like the Hussain Sagar, which is a heart-shaped lake close to Hyderabad in Telangana. So the book almost shows off with his images in many places where you get to see just spectacular images of features within the country as well. And there's a look towards the future as well, because we have a lot of, for instance, in Pina in Bangalore, which is not too far from where we are, you have the foundation stone being laid for the space situational awareness, where we are going to look at space debris and being able to track so that we can look after our satellites in space. this same site, or at least the nearing region, back in the day used to be very tiny industrial hubs where the first parts of our satellites were designed. So that's what you get from this book. It's a truly spectacular book, just amazing pictures. I think there are close to 370, 380 photographs in this, all lovingly curated by the authors, and you really get a sense of the evolution of the institution and the organization as it's moved through 50 years.